friends and welcome to Obsidian Soft. In this class, I will tell you how to make animated sprites in MIT App Inventor. We can show animated GIFs by using WebViewer as I showed in my voice assistant ChatGPT tutorial, but how to show frame-by-frame animation in which we have different frames or costumes of the same image sprite, and using the frames, we want to show an animated sprite. I'm using the word costumes as quite a few of you must have done MIT Scratch before moving on to MIT App Inventor. Let's begin by first downloading the different costumes of a zombie for walking animation. I will give this link in the video description. Just click on the zombie01.zip file and download it. Once it's downloaded, just double click on it to unzip it using any unzipping software. You need to have an unzipping software on your computer to unzip this folder, and open up the folder, and you will have multiple folders inside it for different animations: idle, walk, attack, hurt, and die. And if I open up the walk folder, I will have all these different frames or costumes of the same zombie. Okay, what I need to do is I'm going to rename these images, and I'm going to rename this 000 to 1, and this will become 2, 3, and just rename in the correct order. Okay, so we basically have 8 frames or costumes of our mini zombie. Now start a new project in MIT App Inventor. We are going to call it Animated Sprite. Upload the media, the 8 costumes. We have to do it one by one. I will also upload a scary background for our zombie. This is purely optional. Now, from drawing in animation, drag and drop a canvas. I'm going to choose the background image as the background that I just uploaded. And I'm going to make the height 80%. And width is fill parent. Drag and drop an image sprite from drawing in animation and put it on the canvas. Make the height 144 pixels and the width is 166 pixels. And the picture is 1, the first costume of our zombie. Okay. Also very important, uncheck rotates, okay, for our image sprite properties. Now drag and drop from layout a horizontal arrangement, make height 15% and the width is fill parent. We will put a couple of buttons here for moving our zombie, okay. So drag and drop from user interface a button in this horizontal arrangement, rename it to left button, okay, and make font bold, font size 20, and background color is black, and the shape is rounded, and the text on it says left, and the text color is white. Also, let me make for this horizontal arrangement align horizontal center and align vertical center. Now duplicate this button by pressing Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V for Windows and Command+C, Command+V for MacBook, and rename it to right button, and we're just going to make the text right for it. Okay, and what I'm going to do is that from sensors this is important for an animation to work, drag and drop a clock, okay? And I am going to uncheck timer always fires, and I will also uncheck timer enabled, and I'm going to make the timer interval 41 milliseconds. And I will tell you how I arrived at this timer interval when we are doing the coding part. We are done with the screen design. So let's go to the block section. Now, I want a global variable for the frame count, okay? As we need to keep a count of how many frames we have shown so far. So go to variables and initialize a global variable and call it frame count. And we always start with frame 1. So I'm going to give it a maths block of 1. Next, we are going to make a procedure for starting our animation. So go to procedures, take the first block and name it start animation. And what are we going to do in this procedure? First of all, every time we start the animation, we are going to set the frame count back to 1. Okay, so go to variables and set the frame count and duplicate this and make it 1. Next, we are going to make sure that the first picture that is being shown for our image sprite, actually, let's just rename to zombie sprite. Okay, so the first picture for a zombie sprite is set to 1.png because that's the first costume whenever the animation is started. So if I click here, I can get the set block and it is 1.png. And if I duplicate this block, and now I am going to set the speed of its movement. So the speed will be a number and the number will be 2. So what does the speed means? It means it moves 2 pixels in a certain interval. And what is the interval? I'm going to give that interval. So if I just duplicate that and I'm going to choose interval here, and the interval is 41 milliseconds. Okay, this means that our sprite will move 2 pixels every 41 milliseconds. Now, I'm using the industry standard of 24 frames per second, which means if we calculate this in milliseconds, it will turn out to be about 41 milliseconds. So 24 frames in 1 second. So this means 1 frame in 1/24 seconds. And if we convert 1/24 into milliseconds, it will be something around 41 milliseconds. Okay. Another thing is that we are going to enable our zombie sprite. Okay. So if I go back to my zombie, I have all these properties that I'm using, and if I enable it, only then it will start using this interval and speed property to start moving. Okay, so go to the block section and I'm going to enable it, and this will be a true. Okay, so every time the animation is started, I reset all the properties of our zombie, and I'm also going to enable the clock. Now the clock is the important thing here, because when the clock will go off, our zombie will change its picture, the frame. Okay, that will use the walking animation. So I'm going to set the clock to true. If I duplicate this, and remember that our timer will run every 41 milliseconds because I chose the clock's timer interval to be 41 milliseconds too. So in 41 milliseconds, not only will our zombie move or slide, but at the same time, because we will be changing his costumes, so we will have that walking animation too. Okay, so what will happen when the clock goes off? What event is called? If I click on clock, this is the event that will be triggered when our 41 milliseconds timer goes off. And what will we do inside it? First of all, we will check if our frame count is still less than 8. Okay, so if I go to control, I can get the if then else block, and here if I go to maths, I can get this equal to block, and within that I can choose less than, and again a maths block, and 8, because remember we have 8 total costumes for our zombie. So we want our animation to stop once we have used up all the costumes. Okay, so go to variables and get the getter and get the frame count. So if our frame count is less than 8, only then we will change the frame. Okay, so how will we change the frame? First of all, we are going to set our frame count to a plus of the previous frame count and 1. So if I duplicate this, so this will give us the frame count, and if I duplicate this one and plug in 1 here, so this will add a 1 to our frame count, and then we are simply going to set our zombie sprites picture to a join of 2 things, because we will be constructing the file name, the image file name. So how can we construct it? We'll just get the frame count and we join it with .png. Okay, so we are constructing the file name. So every time the frame count will be incremented, that is a 1 will be added to it, we will set the zombie sprites picture to the next frame, okay, or costume. Okay, and if we have already used up all the frames, that is our frame count is now equal to 8, what are we going to do? We are going to disable our clock so that our animation stops, and we are also going to disable our zombie sprite, because remember it will be using these properties, that is the speed and interval, to be moving. So we need to stop him moving now. Okay, this is the sliding movement. So this is the sliding movement, and this will take care of the animation using the frames. Okay, now our right and left buttons, these 2 buttons will determine the direction of movement. So when the right button is pressed, that is clicked, we choose the heading as 0. Okay, because that will make the zombie move towards the right. So when right button is clicked, let me duplicate this one, and this is not false, and this is the heading. Heading means the direction, and I will give the maths block, and this will be 0. So this will make sure that it will move towards the right, and I want to call my procedure, that is start animation. So when the right button is pressed, I will make sure that our zombie is pointing towards the right, and I will call this procedure, and this procedure will run and it will enable the timer. The timer will take care of the actual walking animation, and this will take care of the right, going towards the right by 2 pixels movement. Okay, now duplicate, choose left button here, and we just need to change our heading to 180 to make sure that it now moves towards the left. Okay, so we're done. I hope you have fun animating your sprites this way. This is very much needed while making games with a better user experience, as game players would be more fascinated by a zombie actually doing that clumsy zombie walk instead of just sliding left and right. You just need different frames or costumes for your image and a clock sensor to shift between the different costumes, okay? So I hope you like this video. Do share it with your friends and family. Also, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss any of the great projects that I have planned for you. Thank you for watching my video. Have a good day and goodbye.